All right, welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. Today we have Connecticut fighter Richie Popeye Rivera. Welcome to Coach's Corner, Richie. We're excited to have you here. I know you got a big upcoming fight September 14th at the Mass Mutual Center, fighting for the WBA light heavyweight title. So we appreciate you getting here during your training. Tell us how's training going right now, and what are you working on, and tell us a little bit about your opponent.
Well, training's been going good. Nothing's really changed because, we always put in 100%. We put in those miles, a lot of running, a lot of pad work, bag work, the occasional rough sparring. But, everything's going to check out September 14th. We're going up a guy. His name is Barış Erdogan from Turkey. A tough guy. He holds the WBO, the WBA, and the WBC Asia. Didn't find much clips of him or video, so we're just going in there training for anything possible so that day of the fight we can identify and adjust. Yeah, you're a seasoned vet. You're always ready. I mean, your record right now 26-2. You got 19 KOs.
Your background. You fought well as an amateur and as a pro. You've worked with pretty much everybody in the state of Connecticut. Very awkward, tough fighter. For people who don't know, great bout against Badujak. And one of your losses was to him, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go along. But you didn't have a big amateur background.
Well, I would say that I had a big amateur background due to the fact that, I've been boxing my whole life.
Right.
On paper, it might not seem like that, but as a light heavyweight around my time, it was really hard to find the type of competition to even compete. But we fought in the Olympic trials for Rio. We fought going in Philadelphia, Tennessee. We fought in tournaments in Puerto Rico. We really got a lot of traveling and fought the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, your reputation in the state of Connecticut, like you said, at that time, coming up through the amateurs, weren't many people in that division for you to fight, compared to some of the other guys. But you turned pro and, you just went lights out. You fight for Star Boxing. Joe DeGuardia signed you. And you're maybe, one of the best unkept secrets in boxing right now as far as, your record and everything else, and you're always game to fight anybody. And this is a big opportunity for you and to move you up throughout the rankings and everything and, position you into another fight down the road. We'll kind of get into that in a little bit. And, everybody has a starting point in boxing. I mean, what was you that drew you to the sport of boxing? And, coming to the point of saying, hey, this is the direction I want to go in as an athlete?
Well, as a little kid, my father, when my father was a child, he was deprived of the sport. He wasn't able to compete. His father didn't let him. So when he had boys, he wanted to make sure he put them in boxing. And not just boxing, but all sports.
Right.
So growing up, I was able to play baseball, football, basketball, boxing, swimming, and volleyball. And, I competed at my high school and, Pop Warners and, national leagues. And I always felt I was a good athlete, but I really stood out in boxing. So that's why I try to hone in on boxing. And, for one thing is, all the other sports I mentioned, if you don't, hit the iron while it's hot, and like in high school, it kind of ends there. Boxing is going to be there forever. And, I was able to really tune in, and as soon as I locked in, I'm telling you, I catapulted and got to the next level.
Do you think because, you look at a lot of fighters today coming in the game, they're one-dimensional fighters. Some have played other sports, some haven't. Do you think, now for people who haven't watched you fight, I've watched you fight as an amateur and as a pro, you're always in shape. you're awkward type fighter that you could throw punches from all different angles. You know, do you think that goes to your growing up playing different sports and as far as your abilities like that to be diversified in the ring?
100%. I feel like watching a lot of fighters and see how uncoordinated they are if they were to pick up a basketball or unable to throw a football or even run a route. It just gives me that competitive edge and be like, well, man, this guy, he doesn't have the type of coordination as me. He really doesn't have the skill set to be a well-rounded fighter as being, you know, and I use every one of those different type of skill sets to better myself or give me that level up on every fighter.
Yeah, I think, you know, watching you and critiquing you from the outside, like, okay, how would we have a fighter fight Richie Rivera? And I think in the beginning, a lot of people see things, but then the fight happens, and all of a sudden you're deep into the fight, and everything you might have worked on is not working, okay? And you're gaining momentum in the fight. Who do you emulate? You know, was it one fighter, or you put everything together for yourself as and your coaches?
Well, honestly, I feel like I'm a product of a lot of different fighters. I looked at Macho Camacho growing up and was just blown away by his
personality,
everything about him, his charisma, along with like Prince Nassim. Of course, you know, Muhammad Ali had that shuffle and he had that gift of gab, but Roy Jones Jr. was also another fighter that really influenced the type of fighter I am today.
Yeah. Now you're training. You not only fight, but you train people. You're training out of Hartford, out of Four Ropes, been your area. You know, shout out to those guys up there. They're always great to us and welcome us into the gym and work with us and our fighters also. Now, you're working on primarily what for this fight? Give us a little bit of the plan of what you're looking at. Is this a 12-rounder or a 10?
I believe this is a 10-round fight.
Okay.
Although I'm ready for a 12-round fight, I'm good for 15 if you ask me to do it. But honestly, what we're just working on is, like you said, I'm a very awkward fighter. So when working with an awkward fighter, it's always good to always get back to just the basic fundamentals. Because when all that awkward stuff doesn't work, you have to get back to raw boxing. And that's sticking the jab from A to B right from your face. That's moving your head with your hands up. That's knowing how to stay in good stance. So, you know, people be like, wow, you're such an awkward fighter. But that's not how I train. I train how to be perfect in the skill set and the craft.
So you're trainer. Who are you working for this fight? Are you working with Eric for this fight, Crespo?
I work with Eric Crespo, Hector Rosario. I've been working with Mike, and a few different other people that are really getting together to lift me up.
So they're working together. Any of those trainers ever tried to change your style?
I wouldn't say they would like to change my style.
Tweak you, maybe?
But they would love to add. They love adding to the arsenal, and I'm all about adding more tools to the toolbox.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're a strong fighter as far as, you know, people have to see you fight, basically. So, you know, your pro career starts. Tell us about how you ended up at Star Boxing. Was it they came to you? Was it that type of, or?
Well, we started off our career as essentially nobodies.
Yeah.
You know, so
fighting on the local cards.
Trying to sell tickets, you know, show promoters that we have a good fan base. And as soon as we started getting that type of momentum, people started, you know, catching wind of who Popeye the Sailor Man is.
Yeah.
And when that happened, you know, things started getting a little bit more expensive or pricier, you know, as far as the business side of boxing goes.
Right.
And the one that was really going to help us take care of all that and really get to the next level was Joe DeGuardia.
Yeah. So, you know, you've been fighting under Joe, and, you know, obviously, look, your record is just, you're almost at 30 wins. I mean, that's alone, if you stop boxing today or at 30 wins, you have a great record and a great career right there across the board. But now you're positioning yourself into, a title fight. Is this what you've envisioned, or is it still a little surreal for you? Or, coming up as an amateur and then into an early part of a pro, everybody envisions being a champion or fighting for a championship. But, once again, I tell everybody, Connecticut has fighters. Being out of New York, living in Connecticut now, but, we talked about it. I had Chad Dawson on last week, and we were talking about this, Johnny Callis. And, we have a lot of good fighters, and you bring a big fan base to it. Mm-hmm. And, I think sometimes we get overlooked as a pair, as opposed to New York and Jersey fighters. But you're right there. Your rankings, you're highly ranked in the WBC right now. Mm-hmm. Fighting for WBA title, which, you do your thing, other things are going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Not to go ahead of the game here, what are you looking for down the road after this? I mean, that light heavyweight division, we were just talking, there's some names out there.
Well, all right. So Muhammad Ali once said, I used to say I was the greatest before I actually knew I was. And in my career, I never seen myself making it to this level. And I never really visualized it. But I used to talk like I was. I used to talk the talk.
Yeah, you got swagger. You definitely got confidence, always did. And you know what? But here you are now.
Now,
years have gone and fights have gone, and you got numbers of wins out there now.
Right. So now that I'm here, we're gonna keep running till the wheels fall off. So
So
I figure we go for a world title. I would love to take the WBC away from Artur Beterbiev. I would love to fight with Bivol. In fact, I got a little animosity with Bivol because we had contracts signed to fight.
Really?
We were going to fight for the WBO. And
was that when he fought Canelo?
No, that was well after.
Okay.
That was the fight where he just fought in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
That was supposed to be my fight.
Okay.
The reason he pulled out, he said something on the lines of, I kind of tweaked my ankle. And Richie, he moves around a lot, and I don't want to fight a guy that moves that much. So he completely ripped up the contract
and
went on to a different opponent. So I want to get mine.
Do you think you're overlooked in the light heavyweight division?
Oh, no. Maybe to worldwide fans.
Well, what I mean by overlooked is that, let me put it to you this way, that your awkwardness is a career killer for some of these fighters.
Right. 100%.
So they don't, even though your record and your ranking is there, you become a threat to them.
I'm too much of a threat.
I think you showed it in the Badu Jack fight. I mean, look, and that fight, we know. Well, let's talk about that fight too. That kind of puts you on the map a little bit more. Tough fight. Going into Saudi to fight that fight, going into enemy territory, fighting Badu Jack, good reputation, former world champion. When you signed that fight, tell us a little bit about it. Tell us about, from the signing of the fight to your training. That had to be wow, comes across the table and here we go.
Yeah. Well, I was really excited for the opportunity, being the fact that I've been calling him out for a while. Every time I had a new victory, I got the mic. Hey, I want to fight Badu Jack. I want to fight Kovalev. I want to fight Artur Beterbiev. I want to fight. And this was the one that called me up and was like, all right, we could fight. And I was like, what? This guy's crazy. I'm about to take him. I'm about to do it to him. So the training, we went to Puerto Rico. We did a few training camps out there with Gabriel Lamastus, head trainer out of Team La Pella. And we went over there, and I'm telling you, it was a gym probably the size of this room right here, and hot, blazing hot. So it got me mentally prepared to be in the fire.
Right.
And
the guys over there that are working with you, they don't care who you are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're taking the opportunity to work with you and be better than you.
Right.
It's a different ball game.
Oh yeah.
So you're there for how long for camp? Was your full camp there, or did you finish up back here?
I did half a camp out there and then half a camp right back here in Connecticut.
Right.
So I was able to get a little bit of the best of both worlds. But we went out there, and I'm telling you, we shocked the world. They wasn't ready for me. They thought it was going to be a pushover fight. They thought I was going to lay down. Everybody on B side was getting obliterated.
Yeah.
So it only put that much more fire in me to, like, show out. And went in there, and I'm telling you, I did my thing. I shocked the world.
You did your thing with some adversity, which we'll get to in a second. You know, look, first couple of rounds, you're feeling him out. What was your reaction to him? What was, like, you had to know after that first or second round, I belong here. I'm ready to rock and roll.
100%. Yeah, it was actually, those exact words went through my head during the fight. It's like, oh, yeah, this is where I belong. It was like walking into the ring and seeing this massive crowd, and the lights and the cameras, and I'm like, I made it. I made it.
Yeah, so you made the first part. You made the ring walk, got to the ring, and now it's like, and I know you had Hector in the corner for you that fight, right? Hector Rosario. Shout out to Hector. And I know Hector walks with swagger because he don't give a shit about who you're fighting or what you're fighting out there. It's like, now the fight's going on. Like, they expected to get you out early. You know, Badu Jack, you know, some of the comments I read early before the fight started and stuff online and everything, they weren't expecting you to last into that fight at all.
No, not at all. Mean, it was the commentaries themselves that in the beginning of the round, they were like, I don't know about this style. It's real awkward.
Right.
I don't know why he has his hands down. You know, I don't know if this is going to end well for Rivera. It's just a matter of time. And then as the rounds go on, they're like, I don't know. This Rivera, he's actually pretty good. Like, hold on.
Why is he still hanging around? Look, the controversy, the 4-minute round. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, look, did you feel it that long? I mean, as a fighter, you know what's going on when you're training, right? Are you saying to yourself, damn, man, this fucking round is long here all of a sudden?
So, you know, but fighters fight. So during the fight, it's not like I was going to stop and be like, wait a minute, something feels a little funny.
But mentally, you might be thinking about it a little bit.
Mentally, I was just, you know, going along with the fight. He at the very last second of the round, he clipped me with a good shot, and it stumbled me back. It didn't hurt me, but it stumbled me back.
Right.
And he thought that was his opportunity to really jump on it. And he's swinging. He's doing everything to get me out of there. And I'm looking at him like, it's not working. Like, just go ahead and spend a little extra money, you know? So the round ends, and I go to the corner, and I'm like, I turned to Hector. I was like, what round was that? That felt way too long. I'm like, did I, like, mentally skip a round? Like, what's going on? And he asked him, he was like, that was the 8th round. I was like, all right, well, we got 2 more. Let's get the job done. Went into the next round, sticking the jab, making him miss, and making him pay for it.
Yeah. Was he what you expected?
Absolutely not. I mean, I knew that was the type of fighter that I wanted. I knew I could beat him, but it was mid-fight where in my head I was like, man, this guy isn't as good as I mentally hyped him up to be. You know, it was really a mental battle between me and myself. And it was crazy because, you know, sometimes you need to fight the fight to gain the experience, where I felt like I was gaining it in the moment, where I'm just like, oh, no, I'm good. Like, come on, let's go. Let's step it up. Start getting a little bit more riskier with these combinations. And, you know, I felt good. That's, like I said, that's where I belong to be.
Yeah, I think honestly for fighters, you have to get into that fire to know you belong. Okay, whether it's early in your career through sparring or early fights, tough fights, you can't just coast. And confidence obviously has a lot to do with it. Look, you're in that fight, and all of a sudden you're fighting with a guy that everyone's hyping, and you're still there, 4th round, 5th round, and I'm gaining momentum. And you know what? This is a different fight now.
Right.
Now you have a different attitude. Was there a rematch clause? Because I know there was talk about you guys going back and forth.
There was a rematch clause if I won. If I won, there would have been a rematch clause. If I would have lost, they would have just left it like that.
Right.
So that's why they were doing everything in their power to give Badu the victory, because have us fight again, it's only going to be 10 times worse. I got that much more confidence. I'm that much more understanding of my capabilities, especially in that type of arena and that type of fight. So he knew he don't want the smoke.
No, you already got the game plan. I mean, he's almost at the end of his career.
Yeah.
And you're coming up into that. So that fight kind of puts you, in the national limelight. Because, you're fighting in Saudi on a card with a lot of other top fighters. And you know what? We have a little controversy in the fight, but forget the controversy. You gave him a hell of a fight.
Right.
So in between that, what was the pause? Were people afraid to say, I want to fight Richie Rivera? Or was there, because now it's like you showed, I'm here.
Yeah.
I belong in the light heavyweight division. I belong here.
Well, some guys, they look at it like, oh, you're a nobody. You need to fight somebody to be able to fight me.
Well, you just fought the guy.
Then you fight the guy.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't know if I want to fight a guy like you. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's you can't, if you do too good, you get feared, and they don't want to fight you.
You're sort of in that in-between right now. Listen, on September 14th, you win the WBA title. There's going to be mandatories that people are not going to be able to avoid you now. You're going to be able to get the fights to put you in a position to fight for all the belts at that. Right now, you're a career killer, like we talked about. You're a Bernard Hopkins, You got the record, you got the experience against people, but you know what? The guy's going to say, I don't know if that fight is meaningful enough for me to take a chance to put my belt up or put my money up on this fight. But one thing I got to ask you, the nickname. Who gave you the nickname? And look, you know what? It's a lot of guys today, right? You've been doing this since an amateur.
Yeah.
It's not like, you turned pro and you just came up with this.
Right.
You've been doing this all through. As long as I've seen you fighting. I mean, I have you in my phone. That's how I have you in my phone, right? But who gave you the nickname and why? How did it come about?
So Popeye came out a few different times. The first time it came out was just a bunch of guys teasing each other, going back and forth. And at the time, I was very young, but my hands and my forearms were huge, and I didn't quite grow into the body that I have today.
Right.
So this guy was like, man, this dude looks like Popeye, and everybody's laughing. It kind of stuck with me. I'm like, that was kind of cool. I kind of like the name. And then a few different times in the gym, we're all hitting the bag. Somebody's like, oh, man, this kid looks like Popeye. Oh, what up with Popeye? And from there, the hat, the pipe, that's all she wrote.
You took the personality from there. Now, I mean, in today, a fighter, look, you got to have something that sells you. Social media is so big today, not only to sell the fight, but to promote the fighter, to get everything going across the board. You seem to get a great response from people who know you, and even the fans that don't know you with that. How are you utilizing that now to help you with your career? Because, look, boxing is boxing, but there is the business end of it also. Yeah,
well, don't get me wrong. We have the Popeye gimmick, but a part of the Popeye is that I'm truly being myself. I'm not faking.
You are. You are.
I'm not faking the funk.
Right.
I'm trying to be a very humble person. I'm trying to be, loving to my community, my family, my friends. I want to make a difference in my community, and that's what really stands out. So it's one because, who do we want to attract? We want to attract the younger kids.
100%.
What young kid really knows who Popeye is? They know Popeye is chicken. They don't know who Popeye is.
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah, they go back to my generation when I'm older than you guys. But talking about giving back to your community, you're out of the Hartford area, right? You grew up in that area, right? You're working at Four Ropes, and look, we've been up there. You're a big part of that community. You're a big part of, working with the kids and training people. What do you? Now we have a diverse bunch of backgrounds in the Hartford area of kids coming into the gym. What are you telling them? What do you, as you're working with them and they're asking you questions, what advice are you giving them as far as, life, boxing, athletics, whatever it is? Well, because you're a role model.
Yeah. I'm trying my best to be. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Everybody's human. But for the most part, I tell kids, stay in school. School's everything. Everybody wants to be a student athlete. Well, student comes first. But I try to give them hope. I let them know that I was once them. I try to really have empathy and let them know I was once in your shoes. I was once somebody that was a nobody. I was once somebody that didn't have enough food on my plate or the nice shoes or any of that. So it just comes from believing and having perseverance. It takes a lot to have the type of upbringing that I have and still have a positive outlook on life. I'm blessed to have a family that is very church-orientated and believes in God. My mother just got her pastoral license. My brother is a pastor. We're very church-orientated, and we try to really lead by example, so I'm not just telling kids, all right, do good and then turn around and just,
Right. Yeah, definitely. You're under the microscope a little bit more today as before. But do you feel boxing has been part of what's helped you grow as an individual?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Because, hey, you can attest to this. You don't play boxing.
No.
You live boxing. So
boxing challenges us in many ways, whether we're amateur fighter, pro fighter, a guy coming into the gym. Good coaches, which you guys have been around, are going to challenge you.
Right.
And it's going to bring out, the best in you, sometimes maybe the worst in you, but you know what? You can't run from it.
That's a friend of mine, Gabi, tells me that boxing, the ring, is the chamber of truth. You go in there and you can't hide anything. You are as raw and as natural as you once was and once will be. You are living between the present and the future. The boxing is the most equivalent thing to life itself.
It is.
It's almost one of those moments where, like, if it's a special thing to be in a boxing gym because you learn so much about yourself.
Yeah, the truth is, like you said, it's the mirror that tells you everything. And you know what? And if you don't believe it, you go back and you look at the film and it tells you again what was there because it doesn't go away. Look, you win fights you're supposed to lose, you lose fights you're supposed to win. It's life, right? But you know what? It tells a tale, all right? If you don't do your job and you lose a fight, it's there. Hey, you can bullshit yourself all you want, but your coaches are going to tell you, and you're going to know, hey, you know what? I didn't train too hard for that fight. Or you know what? I didn't listen to the plan. Yeah, you're right, and this is what happened. Okay, let's go back and do it again. But you had a little adversity recently, okay, which maybe a lot of people don't know. You took a fight, and it didn't turn out to the way that your likings of it.
Right.
And look, you're used to, with the exception of Badu Jack, which was a controversial fight. A lot of people think could have went either way on that fight, on the scorecards. Okay, definitely walked out of there changing the mind of a lot of people. And look, we know fighting over there, you would have had to drop them 3 times to really walk out with the win. Right. And maybe then they would have overturned it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's how boxing is, unfortunately. But, you're coming off a tough decision, right? How did that – did it reassess you or remotivate you or change you a little bit? And, unfortunately, losses affect people different ways.
Yeah.
What did you take off of that?
Well, one thing's for sure is that if you're not taking anything out of any loss or victory, there might be a problem. Okay, you always want to use everything as somewhat of a lesson. And wins, losses, I always go back to the drawing board and I always look at myself and see what went right, what went wrong, what you could have done, what signs did you take in or did you avoid. And, I just feel like in boxing, it's always good to tread lightly. And I don't regret anything.
Right.
I'm glad of how my career is going. I enjoy the sport, and I feel like there's nothing that's going to hold me back from getting to what I'm destined to be.
Well, you know what? There's only one perfect fighter that we've seen in the last 30, 40 years, maybe longer, is Mayweather. Okay, he's perfect. Hasn't lost a fight. The best fighters out there right now, unfortunately, pick up losses. It's a learning experience. Some it affects others deeper than others. Some rebound, some don't. I think, look, it's part of the journey.
Right.
It's part of the journey. You're going to go up, you're going to go down. And it comes back to this. How do you react? How do you pick yourself up? Do you rebound and you say, okay, hey, shake it off, whatever it is. I know what happened. In the last fight, look, you weren't feeling well. There was some issues with prior to the fight, and you still went in there as a warrior, and whatever happened. Look, it wasn't in the States. Judging's a little differently over there, and, might have worked against you.
Yeah.
And enough said. But here's this opportunity now.
Right.
Did you foresee that? That there's like when you came back, did you say, hey, you know what? Wait, was it back to the drawing board? Was it like, okay, we're going to regroup and we're going to – how did this come about for you?
Well, I think ultimately, before answering that question, I just feel like you can't get discouraged. In boxing, if you really get discouraged, that it takes away your confidence and your dignity and your manhood.
Right.
We got an issue. But if you look at everything like this can only make me stronger. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. You're looking at the glass half full.
Yeah.
And look, with this type of mindset and this type of work ethic that I put in, boom, land me the WBA fight. So I'm excited for this fight, and I'm excited for my future as to.
Yeah, you've always been an upbeat, very positive individual. You've been around a lot of different fighters, and you worked with a lot of different fighters, and you're in the gym with different coaches and everything. Is it your attitude with your work ethic that carries you over? Because, look, boxing is – you got 28 pro fights. You've been in the game a minute. You know what I mean? So it's like – and the hill's like this.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? The first when we start, and then we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here.
Yeah.
It's a long journey, and – look, for people who don't know, there are guys, you're working as a personal trainer and boxing. Mm-hmm. Boxing is not full-time for you like some guys out there, but yet your record is just like.
Yeah.
And for people who don't understand boxing, it's like it's a long road.
Yeah.
Is it your attitude that, kept you where you are, kept you humble, kept you focused, or look, like every fighter, fighters go off track. Mm-hmm. Who reeled you back in?
Honestly, like I said earlier, having a God-fearing mother, brother, a father that will always be there to remind you and strengthen you and uplift you,
right,
keeps my head on straight. And like you said, I'm at the gym all the time, so I got tons of kids that come to the gym that look up to me, So knowing that I have people that want to see me succeed, that care for me, that like I'm a role model now, I can't just give up, And going into practice day in and day out, not giving 100% is just selfish. I can't give anything less than that. I have accomplished so much, but yet have so much to prove.
Yeah. There's a lot more in the tank for you. you're not a fighter who's been in wars that you're walking around with injuries or being dropped or being hurt or anything like that. So, there's definitely more gas in the tank. And, your training, you worked with our guys a little bit, and we were talking the last time. You don't spar a lot.
Mm-mm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I've worked with
How does
many.
it, I know you worked with many. Because, okay, are you sparring? I'm going to ask you a two-part question. You answer, are you sparring more for this fight, or are you sticking to your plan of the way you train?
I'm sticking to my plan of the way I train.
Okay.
I don't believe in the traditional training setting of sparring 2-3 times a week. And I've had many coaches that have their own ideology of boxing, and they believe, oh, man, you need to be in there. You got to stay sharp. You got to get your timing. But I try to tell people, I'm a light heavyweight. I hit hard, and if I'm hitting hard, I'm working with the best. The guy that I'm working with is going to hit me too, We practice how we play. So I don't want to put any unnecessary damage on my body. I don't want to get too much hits to the head. I don't want to be going home with cramped up knuckles or bruised ribs or twisted knees. I want to be as healthy as possible. And I feel like if I'm able to give 100% during my training, I will show out. I have a God's gift and a natural ability to fight. So I just need to train hard and make sure I can perform the night of.
Yeah. Well, coaches probably, like you said, they want to.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I've watched you spar. You'll go without headgear at times. How many rounds? Like, a couple weeks ago, you went 10 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But is there a number, or it's just how you feel during camp? How did you train for Badu Jack? Besides being in Puerto Rico, they had to have sparring for you down there, the guys.
I've only sparred 2 times for the Badu Jack fight. I sparred once in Puerto Rico and once back at home. And that will suffice to get me right. And honestly, and I'm telling you, 90% of injuries are coming from sparring versus the actual fight. Most guys take their biggest injuries during their sparring than the fight. I don't want to get injured for no reason. I don't want to get injured for free now. If we're gonna get injured, we're gonna.
Well, look, there's a couple of things with that, right? You go into camp, you bring in a couple of sparring partners, right? They want to show that they belong with you, and they want to show a little bit, not in a malicious way. Right. And the other factor is we know sparring gets out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
The chirping starts.
Oh yeah.
The corners start, and then the next thing you know, it's a little out of hand.
It's a little chippy.
And I'm with you. I don't want my fighter getting hurt in a sparring session.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe? Yeah. I believe for a certain level of fight, you got to spar X amount of rounds, but in a controlled area. There has to be a calculated plan. Okay, we're not going to be 3. I believe 2. So with my bigger fighters, heavyweights, 2 times a week, at least, working up to the fight. More technique, more pad work, depending on the fighter, his conditioning. But you're always in shape. Weight is not a problem with you.
Yeah.
Cutting weight, being in shape, you're always in shape within 10 pounds, right?
Right.
So you don't have to worry about your conditioning. But what does your training consist of without the sparring then? What is simulated?
Well, like I said, I played many different sports before, so I take a lot of the training regimens from those different sports, football, basketball. What I do is, instead of running sprints, I like running routes. I'm still running at full speed, but it takes a little bit more coordination to try and run in a certain way and catch a ball at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I do swimming, so that helps with all my joints, my muscles, and, definitely expands my lungs. I play a lot of basketball. Again, you're moving fast, those very fast, short sprints, but also in need of controlling a ball. So like I said, I'm a well-rounded athlete, and that's what's gotten me so far.
Yeah. I mean, look, now as a trainer, aspirations for you to train fighters?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I love this sport, and I love seeing somebody grow. Not saying, I mean, it would be nice to get me a world champion, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something about me working with the kids that really fills me up with joy. It does it for me.
Yeah. How do you think of yourself as a trainer? What's your style? Are you training people the way you fight, or are you training people
absolutely not.
traditionally? Because you got to have a kid come in and they want to emulate you, right?
Right.
They want, no, I want to fight like you.
And I'd be like, no, put your hands up.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because something that I've learned working with many different trainers is you really, to be a good trainer, you have to identify what kind of fighter you're working with. You can't just try and train everybody the way you fight. You need to find out what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and then try to identify how you can be able to, you know, make them better.
Yeah, I mean, look, the basics of boxing are the basic of boxing. I mean, everybody's got to have the basics, right? Mm-hmm. You come in, your footwork, your jab, your punches, they all got to be the same. Mm-hmm. The style of the fighter comes down to the style of that person, what he can do strong. You know, is he a puncher? Is he a mover? Is he fast? Is he slow? Mm-hmm. You know, size, whatever. There's a lot of factors that go in, and I think, you know, some trainers fall into the same thing. They train everybody the same style.
Right.
I don't think you're an individual. Like, I look at fighters, and I tell fighters, you're the artist. You're the painter. Mm-hmm. The ring, the bag, that's your canvas. Right. We're going to give you the basics, right? The basic colors. Here's the colors. Here's the brush. Create now. Because, look, I could tell you throw punches, this combination, but you know what? You can come back in the fight and say, hey, coach, that's not working.
Right.
Okay, what's working, Richie? What do you see out there? Go with it. But I think a lot of trainers this is the way, and this is the way we're going to do things. I don't believe in that. That's not, I don't know, maybe because of the way I've had coaches who have given me room to make mistakes and to learn from my mistakes and to be myself. Mm-hmm. And I think with fighters, because you're spending a lot of time with your coach, whoever it is. You're going to that fight 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is your training camp is. In between training camp, you guys are in the gym talking about everything. He knows you, you know him. You know, you got to give that room for that person to have some input and say, okay, this is what's working. This is what's not working. Mm-hmm. And I think in your case, if you went outside to another trainer, they might look at you and say, you know.
Yeah. I've had, I won't mention any names, but there was times where, you know, I would work with somebody and time of the fight comes, I told him, hey, you mind not giving me any advice for the first 2 rounds? Like, don't critique me in any way. I'm gonna do just what comes out. After those 2 rounds, then tell me what you think and how I could go about it. And the guy got a little mad, like, what are you talking about? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Well, you know, look, as trainers, we're looking out for your best interest, right? So, like, you know, we want to walk into the fight. We want to make sure we have all bases covered. Mm-hmm. But I think today the communication, fighters are smarter today, okay? We have tape, okay? We know. We tape ourselves, right? We tape our fighters to show you, hey, this is what you look like, okay? If you're going to throw that punch this way, this is what it's looking like. If you're missing it or hit it, you know how to make the adjustment. Mm-hmm. You know what your opponent's going to do, okay? So, I don't know. I'm a big tape guy. If I can get tape on a fighter, I watch it over and over and over again because there's a story there. Mm-hmm. There's a story of a mistake. There's a story of what they do well. Yeah, but habits. Old habits die hard. Look at fighters, man. They all resort back to what they do well in a fight.
Right.
But I've been blessed to fight with heavyweights, not to fight with them, to train them who can punch. You're a puncher. Mm-hmm. So basically, the way you look at it, you could be losing the fight for 9 rounds. last minute of the fight and throw a punch, and that fight's over.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I think you train people differently with that because in the back of your mind, as a coach, we say, look, things aren't going our way, but you're still in this fight. You can punch. I'm going to ask you, in the Badu Jack fight, did you feel you could drop him at times? Or was it just not timed? Was the timing not there?
There was I felt like if I could replay the fight over again, I probably would have stepped on the gas
earlier.
Probably off the gate.
So what? You gave him too much respect.
Gave him a little too much respect.
Were you unsure to give him because you gave him that respect because you weren't sure of what he was bringing?
Well, yeah, it was my first time under the big lights,
right?
And I was just a little timid, and when I was in my head, hands up, stick to the jab.
Right, you didn't want to get caught.
Right, but as soon as I started getting comfortable, I was like, man, I really should have stepped onto it a little earlier because I had so much more to give after that fight. And had the fight gone 2 extra rounds, like a 12-round bout,
yeah,
you would have seen a huge difference because each round he was declining.
Your momentum, later in the fight, your momentum was going on. I think in a 12-round fight would have been a different story because I don't think he. You know this as a fighter. Sometimes fighters don't expect what's in front of them, and they're just carrying to hang on till the fight's over. Right. They feel they're going to win the fight, but they're not going to take any chance to be in a position to get knocked out or to really lose the fight. Mm-hmm. Did he hit like you expected?
No. Especially come that 8th round that went an extra minute. He probably landed his best punch of the fight. He hit me, and I was off balance because I was like jumping, peppering him with a little hook.
Mm-hmm.
Caught me with a shot. I stumbled back. And he jumped on it. And when he jumped on it, I was like, hey, he thought he hurt me because most people, you catch them with a good shot and, it doesn't really rub. You carry on with the regular boxing. But the fact that he jumped on it and kept throwing and throwing, I was like, this guy thought he hurt me. Like, he didn't hurt me. Like, I ate your best shot. And I'm telling you right now, it wasn't it. Like, it doesn't have as much pop as you think it does. Yeah. So, trust me. And I've been in the ring with some heavy hitters, and he didn't have the type of power that scared me or made me second guess myself.
Were you looking for the knockout in the 10th round?
I mean, honestly, I thought I did enough to win the fight, so I was still kind of boxing how I was throughout like 7 to 10.
Just keeping pressure, moving.
Yeah, but. Like I said, if I had the opportunity to fight again, I'd definitely plant myself a little bit more and throw those bigger shots. We knew that Badu was a very experienced fighter, so we didn't want to get too risky or too out of the game plan.
Right. I mean, he was older, so, I mean, your conditioning definitely played to a strength for you. But like you said, you are giving him respect because he is experienced, and you know what? You don't want to be caught in a position, but the momentum of that fight was definitely changing from the 5th round on.
Oh yeah,
of that fight, and he had to know like you weren't going nowhere.
Yeah,
Besides him, now look that Bitabev, Bivol, if Canelo goes back up to light heavyweight, who knows? There are names out there right now. How do you see yourself against them? I mean, Bivol, I think, is built for your style. Bitabev is just an awkward.
I think Bitabev is tailor-made for me. I think I could beat him alone with just the jab.
Yeah.
He's right now the boogeyman of the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I'm not. When I look at his fights, yes, they are impressive. But
is he one-dimensional?
Is to me, very one-dimensional. Yes, to me, the guy has 2 left feet, has only one style, and that's just pressure. Keep throwing,
come forward and throw.
Down. If you do that with me, I'm gonna have a field day with him. So Artur Beterbiev is definitely on my radar.
Your movement, I think, against his style, coming forward, search and destroy. he's not used to somebody moving like that and turning him. You know, he's looking for somebody to be in front of him so he can set and throw his punches. And if you get in that position, you know, you've seen what happened to other fighters.
Yeah,
that's
I'm not gonna give him the opportunity.
That's not the position. What are your thoughts on Bivol?
Bivol is somebody that if I were to fight him, it would be a little bit more of a chess match. I could see us thinking a lot about it, but I think I do have the ability to beat him. I felt that way after his fight against Canelo. He fought a guy that was, 4 times smaller than him and wasn't able to get him out of there. No way. Not going to happen. And for the most part, Canelo didn't do as much moving as I'm going to be doing. I'm going to keep him off balance. I'm going to throw some big shots. And anybody's seen the fight with him and Joe Smith, that man could get hurt. Joe Smith caught him with a mean overhand right, staggered him as the bell rang. Had that punch got landed in the middle of the round, Joe Smith would have took him out of there.
Yeah. I know you worked with Joe Smith. Was it for that fight that you worked with Joe?
I worked with Joe Smith for the Bivol fight. I worked with him for the Bernard Hopkins fight and the Fonfara fight. So I worked with him for a few different training camps.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been with him too. I mean, they're great people out there. I like Joe. You know, shout out to him. What a heart of a champion fighter. Another guy is just, tough as nails. You know, likes to put it in there. I mean, look, the door is going to open for you now. You know, God willing, you do what you got to do on, September 14th. And, you know, those opportunities out there are going to, they're going to be there because then people can't, run it and hide from you. If it was your pick after the 14th, who do you take?
I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. I want David Benavidez.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The man's moved up to the light heavyweight division, took the WBC interim, and that's the guy on my radar. That's the guy who I want right now. It'd be nice to take the world title away from Artur Beterbiev, but I would also like to fight David Benavidez.
What do you see in Benavidez? You see something because you throw that name out pretty quick. Yeah. And look, he's another guy like, in the boxing world. You can call him the boogeyman. A lot of people don't want to fight him. He's a heavy hitter. He's a big person. What do you see?
Not much at all. I mean, you were just a very big guy at a super middleweight division.
Yeah.
Of course, your punch
we saw that. We
more.
saw that with Demetrius Andrade. He was just so big in that fight compared to Demetrius, and he just,
we have David go up to light heavyweight. His punches didn't have that same effect on those light heavyweight. He fought 2 times at the light heavyweight. It didn't have that same type of effect.
With him, the jury's out with me on him. Okay? He's definitely not a super middleweight. Okay? I don't think he can make super middleweight anymore, and it's very difficult for him. Or does he want to make it? Okay?
I doubt it.
At a light heavyweight, I don't know if he's got the footwork or the movement, to be in with somebody who's athletic and who can move. Right. If another guy that if you're in front of him, he's going to walk you down and throw shots at you. How long can a fighter take it? That's what it comes down to. But the jury's out on him. I mean, I like him as a fighter. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's what everybody's saying he is right now. No. He's just.
Nah, I want to be the guy that disclaims all that.
Yeah, I mean that would be wow. I mean, look, there's a lot of possibilities out there for you. Once you get past September 14th. So tell us a little bit about September 14th. We're gonna give everybody a little look here. And your promo code, okay? You're fighting at the Mass Mutual Center.
Yep.
You're in the main event, okay? ESPN.
Yep.
ESPN fight here. Tell people where they can find information on tickets, stream, whatever it is that you got going on. Go to your Instagram and scan for tickets.
Oh, yeah. September 14th, Mass Mutual Center. We're fighting for the WBA. If you're looking for tickets, you could go on the Mass Mutual website, put in promo code RRDDXI, or you could just hit me up on my Instagram, richard.popeye, where, I'm going to be selling tickets in hand. So if you ever need anything, you let me know. I'm still at that level where I don't mind traveling to you, to getting you the ticket. I just want to put the asses in the seat.
Putting the asses in the seat there. Expecting a big turnout for this fight.
Right.
I think definitely one that we don't want to miss. And you can go to Popeye's Instagram, look up, give him some help, some support here. Definitely as a Connecticut fighter who's putting CT on the map out there, and been in the game out here for a minute. Great opportunity to fight for the WBA light heavyweight title. Life after boxing, man. What do you see? Besides training, what do you see for yourself?
I have so much goals and aspirations that I would like to do or accomplish, and my brother, my father are missionaries. I would love to travel the world, help others. We talked earlier, I would love to be a coach, open up my own gym maybe, start a few different type of businesses.
You got a big personality, and I don't mean it in a way of like, okay, it's a personality that kind of attracts people. Mm-hmm. What about acting? Anything like that? You're well-spoken.
I would not
You're a
mind.
well-spoken guy.
But just like boxing, acting takes a lot of practice. It doesn't just... It's not just jumping in front of a camera and do whatever you want. It takes practice.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure if I put my mind to it, start really trying to, be the best actor I could be, I would love to take on the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Look, people need to go to Four Ropes to kind of see how you work with the youth, everyday people coming in, boxing fans, families, and everything else like that. You're definitely the real deal. You're not standing there on the sideline. You walk the talk, and you put it all out there. Tell us what we can expect September 14th. Give us a prediction, man. Richie. Come on, man.
Let me tell you something.
I'm putting you on the spot, bud.
I'm going to tell you something right now. The man is not finishing the fight. We're going to take him out of there. We're winning this fight convincingly. And listen, I'm not coming home without that belt. I'm winning this belt. The man is going to lay down. I'm telling you. I'm going to hit him with a right hand that he's just not going to be able to recover from.
Awesome. So you'll be finishing camp here in Connecticut going into this bout. When are you guys cutting it off, roughly? Is there a time frame? Or
there's no real time frame. I always like to stay moving. I like to stay active. Even when I'm not fighting, I'm trying my best to stay active. So, and I told you earlier, I don't do much sparring. So we're going to stay training pretty much up until the last couple days of the fight.
Yeah. So you haven't changed anything, diet or anything for this fight? You're right there?
I'll tighten up the diet a little bit more. The thing is, I like eating healthy. I eat healthy.
Yeah.
It's the portions that get me.
Yeah.
I could eat a nice salad, but it's got to be a big salad.
Yeah.
I can eat healthy, but just give me a good portion.
Yeah. Well, you got a little weight there that you got to sustain and your protein and everything else. Right. So, look, we definitely want to see you be victorious on September 14th. Wishing you a lot of luck. I'm excited to watch this fight and then, see how your career goes from there. We definitely want to support, our CT fighters. They're out there today, and for a lot of people, there are a lot of world champions, a lot of people holding belts, a lot of people on the rise in Connecticut that are putting CT on the map here. So, we appreciate everybody. Follow Richie. If you can't get a hold of Richie, get a hold of me. We'll get the information for the tickets, and let's support him at the Mass Mutual Center. But we finish on Coach's Corner a couple of different ways here, and, kind of hit you with a couple of bullet questions real quick. Okay. So, I'm going to ask you, if you were in a foxhole, who's the guy next to you or girl? It doesn't matter, dead or alive. Who you bringing with you? Get one person. Make it good.
Probably my dad.
All right.
My dad is an incredible man, a man of many talents.
Awesome. I'm going to give you 3 dinner guests, dead or alive, going to dinner with. Who do you want to be with?
Oof.
Could be anybody.
These are great questions. Dinner guest. I'll probably say I would like to sit next to Mike Tyson and Adam Sandler.
Got one more. Pick one more.
Let's go with Kevin Hart.
All right.
It would be a funny dinner.
It'd be a funny dinner, right? Yeah, definitely want to pick the brains of some people there. All right. Well, we appreciate you, Richie, coming down here. Please, to support him, throw your Instagram, throw your stuff out there where they can find you. Mm-hmm. September 14th, Mass Mutual Center, fighting for the WBA light heavyweight title fight. Give him a shout. It's going to be on ESPN. We appreciate everybody out there supporting us. Shout out to Nirvana Water for all the support and everything they do. And my guys at Creative Evolution here for the filming. And we'll catch you again on Coach's Corner.